And a good question to ask yourself is this: who's invested in solving this situation? Because very often, the moment you find yourself doing the emotional labor, solving the problem, or carrying the concern, you might discover something important. If you're more invested than they are, that is a rescue mission. That realization alone can change how you respond. Hi, I'm Barb Nangle. I want to welcome you to my podcast, Fragmented to Whole: Life Lessons from 12-Step Recovery. If you're tired of feeling fragmented and overwhelmed, this podcast is your guide to creating a life of wholeness, authenticity, and healthy boundaries. I'm a woman in recovery who is also a boundaries coach and speaker. I share raw and honest insights from my own journey and the principles of 12-Step Recovery. Discover how to set boundaries without guilt or shame, overcome people-pleasing tendencies, manage your emotions effectively, cultivate a stronger sense of self, and build healthier relationships. My approach is raw, honest, and sometimes a little bit, a lot sweary. I'm an avid beachcomber and a formerly closeted fan of the Hallmark Channel, especially Christmas movies. I wear fingerless gloves almost all year round because my hands are always cold. And I love taking pictures of license plates with my initials BN on them. I don't speak for or endorse any particular 12-step program of recovery. Though I'm a huge fan of 12-step recovery and a member of two such fellowships, I cannot speak for them. If you're ready for real talk and practical tools for transformation, keep listening. This is episode 344, How to Stop Your Inner Torment and the Urge to Fix Everyone. Today's episode was inspired by two pieces of feedback I received in the last 2 days. One came through fan mail on my podcast, and the other came from someone in my coaching community. Both of them point directly to something important about internal boundaries. So I want to share both of them with you. But first, a little bit of context. Over the years in this podcast, I've talked about two skills that are really foundational to boundary work. One is pausing, and the other is what I call making things mean things that they don't. Now, I did an episode on each of these two topics. These are older episodes. I recorded them years ago. Rather than reteaching those ideas here, I've linked them both in the show notes, so you can go back and listen to them if you want to do that. Both of those are two skills that make internal boundaries possible. Pausing gives you space, and questioning what your mind tells you to see if it's true or not helps you stop reacting automatically. Which brings me to my fan mail message. Buzzsprout, the platform that hosts my podcast and sends it out to all the other platforms like Apple Podcasts and Spotify, etc., has a feature called fan mail where listeners can send a message directly from whatever platform they're listening on. Apparently, I've had that feature turned on for a long time, and I never really mentioned it on the show. So someone sent me a message through fan mail about one of my most recent episodes, and I want to read the entire thing because it illustrates this topic perfectly. So this is the entire message. They said, "Wow, I am not crazy. I never thought others do the same things to themselves. It's as if I am not happy until I destroy myself emotionally with the conversations in my head that I conjure up. Thank you for this. I have listened to this over and over. So glad I found your podcast. Not fluffy or Instagramish. I am sick of the girly talk bullshit. You are real, and you are real help. Praying more people find you for help out of the pit of the past. You have helped me so much over the years, and you have no idea. Have an awesome day." So that's the entire quote, but here's the part I don't want you to miss. She or he, I don't know, I guess kind of assume it's a woman. It's as if I am not happy until I destroy myself emotionally with the conversations in my head that I conjure up. That is an excellent explanation of exactly what I used to do. So sometimes it's ruminating about the past, but often catastrophizing about the future. Like, this is what they're going to say, and then that's what I'm going to say. Now, when I read that message, especially that last part that I just reread, something really stood out for me. What this person was describing is the moment when they started noticing how quickly their nervous system jumps into fixing mode when someone else is upset or struggling. That pattern is incredibly common for people who grew up in chaotic, emotionally unpredictable, or enmeshed environments, basically dysfunction. When someone around you is distressed, your body reacts as if something dangerous is happening to you. Your mind speeds up, you start planning solutions, you feel responsible, you feel a sense of urgency. And before you even realize what's happening, you're trying to manage the situation. But one of the most important shifts in boundary work is realizing something simple but powerful. Other people's chaos is not danger. Now, for many of us, growing up, other people's emotional chaos did feel dangerous. Maybe someone exploded or withdrew. Maybe someone became volatile, unpredictable, or violent. So your nervous system learned to treat emotional chaos as a threat. And when your nervous system thinks something is dangerous, it tries to get you to control the situation. But internal boundaries teach your nervous system something new. And be sure to listen in next week because I'm going to be very explicit about how to build these internal boundaries I keep talking about. Internal boundaries teach you that discomfort doesn't mean danger. Someone can be upset, disappointed, overwhelmed, or experience any number of other difficulties. And none of that means you are responsible for fixing it. Interestingly, something very related to this came up recently inside my coaching community. I run a twice-monthly coaching group for women called Wholeness Haven, and someone shared something in our group chat that really struck me. She described a situation where someone in her life was in emotional turmoil. In the past, that kind of situation would have completely activated her. She would have felt pulled to respond immediately and to fix it, to stabilize it, to manage the other person's emotions. But this time, something different happened. She paused, stayed calm, and didn't jump in. She didn't feel the same sense of urgency because she paused and thought about what was actually going on. That person's problem is not my emergency. And she noticed that shift in herself. That's what internal boundaries look like. They're not primarily about what you say. They're about what doesn't happen inside you anymore. You don't spiral. You don't feel compelled to manage someone else's emotions. You don't assume responsibility for the situation. Instead, you stay with yourself. This is what I mean when I say internal boundaries strengthen your container so other people's emotions don't link in. Think of it like emotional containment. When your internal boundaries are weak, other people's emotions sort of spill into your system. You absorb them because your, quote, container is permeable or has holes in it. You react to their emotions or try to fix them because they're leaking into your inner territory. But when your internal boundaries get stronger, your container gets stronger too. You shore up the sides, fill in the holes, so it's a sturdy container, not a permeable one. You can then witness someone else's emotional experience without taking it on as if it's your job. You can care without collapsing into taking responsibility for them. And this is where another boundary insight becomes incredibly helpful, because sometimes we jump into fixing mode before we even realize it. And a good question to ask yourself is this: who's invested in solving this situation? Because very often, the moment you find yourself doing the emotional labor, solving the problem, or carrying the concern, you might discover something important. If you're more invested than they are, that is a rescue mission. That realization alone can change how you respond. It doesn't mean you stop caring. It doesn't mean you stop being compassionate. But it does mean you stop assuming responsibility for experiences that belong to someone else. You stop rescuing people. Now, it's fine and even wonderful to help people, but it's not fine to rescue them. And that is the heart of internal boundaries. Internal boundaries allow you to remain present, compassionate, and connected without abandoning yourself in the process. Now, before I wrap up, I want to circle back to something I mentioned earlier. If you ever want to share something from the podcast that landed for you, you can actually send a message directly through the fan mail feature in your podcast app. Those messages come straight to me, and clearly they sometimes inspire entire episodes. So if something you hear on the show resonates with you, you're always welcome to send a message. And if you want to explore the earlier concepts I touched on above, pausing and making things mean things that they don't, I've linked those episodes in the show notes so you can listen to them, because those two skills are foundational. They allow you to develop the internal steadiness that boundaries require. And over time, that steadiness creates a shift that once felt impossible. You can care deeply about someone and still remain anchored in yourself. I also want to leave you with 4 ideas from today's episode. I'm going to repeat them again here because they're so good. If you take nothing else away, let these sink in. Other people's chaos is not danger. Discomfort doesn't mean danger. Internal boundaries strengthen your container so other people's emotions don't leak in. And when you find yourself rushing to fix something, remember this: if you're more invested than they are, or if you're doing more than 50% of the work, it's a rescue mission, and we don't do rescue missions anymore. These are the kinds of small shifts that gradually change how your nervous system responds to the world. And over time, they make something possible that once felt very hard, or maybe even impossible. You can stay connected to other people without losing connection to yourself. Do your boundaries fall apart the moment someone gets upset? Most people think the hard part of boundaries is knowing what to say, but real challenge comes after you say it. When someone gets upset, when your nervous system lights up, when you feel the urge to explain, soften, or take it back. That's where boundaries tend to collapse. I'm teaching a live workshop called Why Your Boundaries Collapse and How to Make Them Hold. It's live on Zoom for 1 hour on Tuesday, April 14th at 12:30 Eastern Daylight Time. It's all about the missing piece most people are never taught, which is how to build internal safety so you can stay steady even when emotions run high. If you want boundaries that actually hold, go to higherpowercc.com/collapse. Early bird pricing through March 31st.